Close your eyes and settle in. There is a lake waiting, its surface calm, its depths filled with quiet stories. Walk with Oren along its edge. Feel the cool air, hear the water's soft murmur, and let the night carry you slowly into rest. The Whispering Lake. The last sliver of the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, ethereal shadows that stretched and danced across the landscape. Oren sat by the edge of the lake, his gaze fixed on the water's surface. It was not just water, he thought, but a canvas, a living, breathing mirror that captured the fleeting beauty of the day's end. The sky above was a masterpiece of color, a riot of fiery oranges, soft rose pinks, and deepening lavenders that bled into one another like watercolor paints on wet paper. Each cloud seemed to hold its own unique hue, from the palest blush to the deepest amethyst, all set against a backdrop of an emerging twilight blue that promised the arrival of the stars. The air was a gentle caress, cool and clean, carrying with it the subtle, intoxicating perfume of wildflowers that carpeted the banks of the tranquil lake. It was a scent that spoke of wild places, of untamed beauty, and it filled Oren with a profound sense of calm. The silence was almost palpable, a deep, resonant quietude that seemed to absorb all the noise and worries of the world. It was a silence so profound that it allowed even the smallest sounds to be heard with astonishing clarity. The gentle lapping of water against the moss-covered stones at the lake's edge was like a whispered lullaby, a rhythmic pulse that underscored the stillness. Occasionally, a soft sigh of wind rustled through the reeds, a fleeting breath that stirred the surface of the water, creating delicate, ephemeral ripples that fanned out like silver threads. These were the only interruptions to the profound peace, and they served only to emphasize the overwhelming tranquility of the scene. This was Oren's sanctuary, a haven carved out of the world where time seemed to pause, where the frantic pace of existence dissolved, and where a deep, abiding peace began to seep into his very soul. He watched as the colors in the sky intensified, the oranges and pinks deepening into rich crimsons and vibrant magentas, while the purples deepened into shades of indigo and nascent navy. The reflection in the lake was a perfect, unbroken duplicate of this celestial spectacle, a liquid realm mirroring the heavens. It was as if the world had split in two, one realm of light and color above, and another, equally magnificent, below. The water's stillness was remarkable. Not a single disturbance marred its glassy surface, allowing the reflection to remain crisp and true, a perfect echo of the fading day. Oren found himself mesmerized by this duality, by the seamless blend of the tangible and the reflected, the real and the imagined. He noticed how the light, as it weakened, seemed to transform everything it touched. The green of the grass along the shore took on a deeper, richer hue, almost velvety in its intensity. The dark bark of the ancient trees that ringed the lake became a deep, rich charcoal, their branches silhouetted against the vibrant sky like intricate etchings. Even the moss on the stones seemed to glow with an inner luminescence, absorbing the last vestiges of daylight and holding it captive. Every detail, magnified by the softening light and the profound quiet, seemed to possess a newfound significance, a quiet beauty that had been masked by the harshness of the day. Oren felt a gentle breeze stir, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and the sweet, pervasive fragrance of the wildflowers. He recognized the delicate notes of honeysuckle, the wild roses, and the elusive, almost spicy aroma of wild thyme. These were not the cultivated, often overpowering scents of gardens, but the honest, unadulterated perfumes of nature, a testament to the untamed beauty of this place. He inhaled deeply, allowing the fragrance to fill his lungs, to cleanse his mind and soothe his spirit. It was a scent that connected him to the earth, to the cycle of growth and decay, to the simple, enduring magic of the natural world. He ran his fingers along the smooth, cool surface of a large, flat stone at the water's edge. It was worn smooth by countless years of rain and wind, a silent witness to the passage of time. He imagined the countless other beings who might have sat here, seeking solace, finding peace, or simply observing the quiet beauty of the lake. He felt a sense of kinship with them, a connection to a lineage of quiet contemplators who had found refuge in this serene spot. The stone itself seemed to radiate a gentle coolness, a grounding presence that anchored him to the earth and to the present moment. As the last vestiges of sunlight faded, the sky began to transform again. The vibrant oranges and pinks softened, yielding to deeper blues and purples. The stars, like shy diamonds, began to prick the darkening canvas, their faint glimmer gradually growing stronger. Oren watched their ascent with a sense of wonder. Each star represented a distant world, a unique story, a timeless presence in the vast expanse of the cosmos. Their emergence from the deepening twilight was a slow, deliberate unveiling, a celestial performance that unfolded with quiet majesty. He noticed a single, luminous star appear almost directly overhead, brighter and clearer than any of the others. It seemed to pulse with a gentle, steady light, a beacon in the gathering darkness. Oren felt a strange pull towards it, a sense of recognition, as if he had known this star for a very long time. He wondered about its origins, its journey through the vast emptiness of space, and the silent stories it held within its fiery heart. The star's light, though distant, seemed to imbue the air with a subtle magic, a whisper of the infinite. The lake, now bathed in the dim, ethereal glow of twilight and the nascent starlight, took on an even more mysterious quality. The water's surface was no longer a perfect mirror of the sky above, but a swirling tapestry of deepening blues and blacks, punctuated by the faint, shimmering reflections of the first stars. It was as if the lake had become a window into another realm, a gateway to the unseen depths of the night. The world of water and the world of sky seemed to merge, creating a seamless, boundless expanse that stretched out before him. Oren closed his eyes for a moment, allowing the symphony of sensations to wash over him. The cool air on his skin, the faint scent of wild flowers, the gentle murmur of the water, the profound silence, and the distant twinkle of the stars, all combined to create an atmosphere of unparalleled serenity. He felt a sense of profound contentment, a feeling of being exactly where he was meant to be, at this moment, in this place. The worries and anxieties that often shadowed his thoughts seemed to recede, replaced by a quiet awareness of the present, a deep appreciation for the simple beauty of existence. He opened his eyes again, and noticed that the world had transformed. The last hints of twilight had given way to the soft, enveloping darkness of night. The sky was now a vast, inky expanse, studded with an uncountable number of stars, each one a tiny ember of light in the infinite black. The Milky Way, a celestial river of stardust, arced across the heavens, a breathtaking spectacle that seemed to stretch on forever. The stars were no longer shy visitors but bold, brilliant inhabitants of the night, their combined light casting a gentle silvery luminescence across the landscape. The lake, now a pool of deepest obsidian, reflected the starlit sky with an almost supernatural clarity. It was a perfect replica, a darkened twin of the heavens above. Oren could see the constellations vividly mirrored in its depths, the familiar patterns of the Great Bear, Orion, and the twinkling clusters of distant galaxies. It was as if he were standing on the edge of two universes, one above and one below, both equally real, equally awe-inspiring. The reflections seemed to shimmer and dance, creating an illusion of movement, of a slow, cosmic ballet unfolding in the water. He watched as a small ripple disturbed the otherwise perfect reflection. A tiny creature, perhaps a frog or an insect, had broken the surface, its movement sending concentric circles of light and shadow spreading outwards. The reflection of the stars fractured and reformed with each ripple, creating a fleeting, watery kaleidoscope. It was a reminder of the life that teemed beneath the surface, the hidden world that coexisted with the silent grandeur of the night sky. The wild flowers along the shore, now in the full embrace of darkness, seemed to release their fragrance with renewed intensity. The sweet, earthy scent was even more pronounced in the cool night air, a tangible presence that enveloped Oren. He could almost feel the petals unfurling, the blooms reaching towards the starlight, soaking in the subtle energies of the night. The air was alive with their perfume, a delicate yet pervasive aroma that filled him with a sense of peace and well-being. He noticed the faint, almost imperceptible glow of bioluminescent fungi nestled amongst the roots of an old oak tree nearby. Their soft, greenish light was like tiny, scattered jewels, adding another layer of subtle magic to the scene. They pulsed with a gentle rhythm, as if breathing in the darkness and exhaling light, a quiet testament to the hidden wonders of the natural world. Oren felt a deep connection to these tiny, glowing organisms, to their silent persistence, their ability to create light in the deepest shadows. The silence, which had been profound at dusk, now deepened into a hushed reverence. The gentle lapping of the water seemed to soften further, becoming a mere whisper. The rustling of the reeds was now almost inaudible, a delicate sigh that barely disturbed the stillness. It was a silence that invited introspection, that encouraged the quiet unfolding of thoughts and feelings. In this absolute quiet, Oren felt his own inner world begin to quieten, his own thoughts to slow and settle, like dust motes descending in a sunbeam. He found himself reflecting on the day, on the journey he had taken, on the wonders he had encountered. But here, by the tranquil waters of the lake, these memories seemed to lose their sharpness, their urgency. They softened, becoming part of the larger tapestry of his experience, woven into the fabric of the present moment. The lake, with its perfect reflections and its profound stillness, seemed to absorb his thoughts, to hold them gently, without judgment, allowing them to simply be. Oren felt a profound sense of gratitude for this place, for its quiet beauty, its potent serenity. It was a place that nourished his soul, that reminded him of the simple, enduring truths of existence. The starlit sky above, the mirrored heavens below, the fragrant air, the hushed silence. All these elements combined to create an experience that was both grounding and transcendent. He was a small part of something vast and beautiful, a single point of awareness within an infinite expanse of wonder. He lingered by the water's edge, reluctant to break the spell of the night. The stars continued their silent vigil, their light a gentle balm on his weary spirit. The lake remained a perfect mirror, reflecting the cosmos with unwavering fidelity. The air remained cool and fragrant, a gentle embrace that soothed and revitalized. Oren knew that he would carry this peace with him, that the memory of this tranquil night by the whispering lake would be a beacon of solace whenever he needed it. He felt a sense of profound connection, not just to the natural world, but to himself, to the quiet strength that lay within him, waiting to be discovered in moments of stillness and reflection. The world outside the lake's embrace might be filled with noise and haste, but here, in this sanctuary, there was only the gentle embrace of dusk and the silent, ancient language of the stars. He felt a deep sense of belonging, as if the very water and the starlight were acknowledging his presence, welcoming him into their timeless dance. It was a profound feeling of peace, a quiet joy that settled deep within his bones, promising a restful and rejuvenating night. The velvet cloak of night, already adorned with the diamond dust of stars, grew even deeper. And then, as if summoned by the silent reverence of the world below, a new celestial presence began to assert itself. The moon, a pearlescent orb, ascended from behind the silhouette of distant trees, a shy newcomer to the star-studded stage. At first it was a pale whisper against the indigo, but as it climbed higher, its luminescence grew, spilling forth a cool, ethereal radiance. Oren watched, his breath catching in his throat, as the moon began its nightly ritual upon the whispering lake. A shimmering, silvery path unfurled across the water's surface, a ribbon of liquid light connecting the shore where Oren sat to the very heart of the lake. It was not a harsh glare, but a soft, diffused glow, a gentle baptism of light that transformed the dark, inky depths into something magical. The water, which had only moments before been a mere reflection of the starry cosmos, now became a canvas for this new, dominant light. The effect was breathtaking. The surface of the lake, disturbed only by the faintest of ripples, captured the moon's glow with astonishing fidelity. It was as if a second moon, identical to the one in the heavens, lay suspended just beneath the water's surface, a luminous twin slumbering in the depths. This mirrored moon was not as solid as its celestial counterpart, but rather a shimmering, ethereal presence, a spectral echo that pulsed with the same gentle light. Oren leaned closer, his eyes wide with wonder, as the interplay of light and water created a spectacle of unparalleled beauty. The moonlight, so pure and so radiant, seemed to possess a life of its own. It danced and played upon the gentle undulations of the lake, each subtle movement of the water causing the silvery path to ripple and shift. It was like watching liquid silk unfurl and swirl, a continuous, fluid ballet of light and shadow. The edges of the moon's reflection were not sharp and defined, but softened, blurring into the surrounding darkness, creating an impression of infinite depth. The water became a mirror, yes, but not one that simply replicated. It was a mirror that interpreted, that transformed, that imbued the reflected light with a new, aquatic magic. Oren imagined the moon's rays as delicate, silvery fingers, reaching down to caress the water, leaving behind trails of shimmering stardust. The light caught the tiny, almost invisible imperfections on the water's surface, a stray leaf, a fallen petal, the minuscule wake of a diving insect, and turned them into fleeting points of brilliance, like scattered diamonds on a dark velvet cloth. The entire lake seemed to be imbued with this moonlight, the glow permeating the water, lending a soft, luminous quality to its surface, even in the deepest shadows. This ethereal illumination cast the surrounding landscape in a new light, quite literally. The trees that fringed the lake, their forms previously softened by the twilight, now emerged as stark, majestic silhouettes against the luminous backdrop. Their branches, etched in black against the pale glow, seemed to reach upwards, as if in supplication to the moon. The reeds along the shore, which had rustled secrets in the evening breeze, now stood like silent sentinels, their tips tipped with a soft, silvery sheen. Even the moss-covered stones at the water's edge, previously darkened by the night, now appeared to absorb and radiate the moonlight, their surfaces dusted with a faint, pearly luminescence. The scene was no longer merely tranquil, it was enchanted. The ordinary had been transformed into the extraordinary, the familiar into the mystical. Oren felt as though he had stepped into a fairy tale, a realm where the laws of nature bent to the will of pure, unadulterated beauty. The moonlight did not just illuminate, it created an atmosphere, a palpable sense of wonder that settled over the landscape like a fine, silver mist. It was a light that whispered secrets, that invited dreams, that stirred the imagination in ways that the daylight could never achieve. He watched, utterly captivated, as a gentle breeze stirred the surface of the lake once more. The silvery path fractured into 1,000 shimmering fragments, then slowly, gracefully, reformed itself. It was a dance of light, a testament to the dynamic beauty of the water and the moon. Each ripple sent waves of light and shadow across the surface, creating fleeting patterns that dissolved as quickly as they appeared. It was a constant, subtle transformation, a visual symphony that held Oren spellbound. He felt a profound connection to this spectacle, a sense of being a privileged observer of a truly magnificent, natural phenomenon. The silence, which had been so profound moments before, now seemed to amplify the visual display. Without the distraction of sound, Oren's senses were heightened, allowing him to fully appreciate the subtle nuances of the moonlight's play. The gentle lapping of the water against the shore, which had been a hushed lullaby, now seemed to be the accompanying music to this silent ballet of light. The rustling of the reeds, barely audible, added a soft, percussive element to the scene. It was as if the entire world had conspired to create this moment of pure, unadulterated magic for him to witness. He found himself trying to grasp the essence of this moonlight. It was not warm like the sun, nor was it harsh like the light of a fire. It was cool, soothing, and undeniably magical. It had a quality that seemed to penetrate not just the surface of the lake, but his very being. It felt ancient, timeless, a light that had witnessed the turning of countless ages, reflecting the same serene beauty upon countless generations before him. He imagined the faces of people from long ago, sitting by this very lake, bathed in the same silvery glow, their hearts filled with the same awe and wonder. The reflection of the moon in the water was so clear, so perfect, that it almost felt tangible. Oren found himself reaching out, as if he could cup his hands and gather the liquid light, or perhaps even touch the surface of the submerged moon. He knew, of course, that it was an illusion, a trick of light and reflection, but the power of that illusion was undeniable. It was a testament to the lake's remarkable clarity, its ability to hold and transform the light of the celestial sphere. This was not just a lake, it was a portal, a gateway to a world of dreamlike beauty. He noticed how the moonlight seemed to outline the underwater world. While the darkness still held sway in the deeper sections of the lake, the shallows were transformed. He could faintly discern the shapes of stones and submerged plants, their forms softened and rendered in shades of silver and grey by the penetrating light. It was as if the lake were revealing its secrets, offering glimpses into its hidden depths, coaxed into transparency by the moon's gentle influence. The air itself seemed to shimmer with the moonlight. It was cool and crisp, carrying the faintest scent of damp earth and the lingering perfume of the wild flowers. But now there was also a subtle, almost imperceptible scent, one that Oren associated with the moon itself, a scent that was clean, pure, and somehow ancient. It was as if the moonlight had its own unique fragrance, a testament to its otherworldly origins. Oren felt a sense of profound peace wash over him, a peace that was deeper and more pervasive than the one he had felt at dusk. The moonlight seemed to quieten the last vestiges of his inner turmoil, to smooth out the rough edges of his thoughts. It was a calming, soothing presence that invited introspection, that encouraged a state of quiet contemplation. He felt connected to something vast and eternal, a part of the grand cosmic ballet that unfolded each night above and below the surface of the whispering lake. He imagined that if he could dive into the lake, into that shimmering, reflected moon, he would find himself in another world entirely, a world of liquid light, where time flowed differently, and where dreams took tangible form. It was a tempting thought, a whisper of adventure that tugged at his imagination. But for now, he was content to remain on the shore, a silent witness to the moon's exquisite artistry, letting its silvered reflection wash over him, cleansing his spirit and filling him with a deep, abiding sense of wonder. The lake, under the moon's gentle gaze, was no longer just a body of water. It was a manifestation of magic, a mirror to the heavens, and a sanctuary for his soul. The world above and the world below were united in a breathtaking display, and Oren, bathed in the ethereal glow, felt utterly, completely at peace. He was a part of this silent, luminous symphony, and the memory of this moonlit embrace would linger long after the orb had begun its descent. The gentle breeze, once a mere caress against Oren's cheek, began to carry with it an astonishing new element, panned. It started as a faint, almost imperceptible murmur, a chorus of sibilant whispers that seemed to rise from the very surface of the whispering lake. Oren, still mesmerized by the moon's ethereal ballet, tilted his head, straining to discern the origin of these delicate utterances. They were not the familiar sounds of the night, the chirping of crickets, the distant hoot of an owl, or the steady hum of unseen insects. These were softer, more nuanced, like secrets being breathed into the twilight air. He leaned closer, his eyes fixed on the rippling moonlight path, as if the light itself might hold the key to the mystery. The whispers grew, not in volume, but in clarity. They wove together, a delicate tapestry of sound, each thread a distinct, yet harmonizing voice. It was as if the lake had decided to share its inner thoughts, its memories, its very essence, with the lone observer on its shore. The sounds were like the rustling of countless leaves in a forest canopy, but there was a liquid quality to them, a gentle lapping that spoke of water. Oren's heart quickened with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Could it be true? Was this truly the Whispering Lake, living up to its name in the most profound way imaginable? He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the sounds wash over him, filtering out the lingering visual brilliance of the moonlit water. He focused solely on his hearing, allowing his imagination to paint the pictures that the whispers evoked. The first distinct sounds he could separate were like the tiny patter of paws on damp earth. He pictured a family of field mice, their whiskers twitching, scurrying through the undergrowth, their tiny adventures unfolding beneath the moonlit trees. Then, a softer, swishing sound, like feathers brushing against leaves. An owl, he mused, its silent wings carrying it on its nightly hunt, a shadow of grace against the pale sky. The whispers seemed to describe the movements, the fleeting moments, the hidden lives that teemed within the ancient forest surrounding the lake. And then, a new layer of sound emerged, a slow, almost imperceptible hum, like the quiet exhalation of the earth itself. This, Oren imagined, was the sound of growth, the silent, steady unfurling of fern fronds, the slow, determined reach of roots into the soil, the patient blossoming of nocturnal flowers that opened their petals only to the moon. The lake was not just reflecting the sky, it was reflecting the life that pulsed within its own ecosystem, a living library of the forest's countless stories. He began to notice a rhythm to the whispers, a gentle ebb and flow that mirrored the subtle movements of the water. The sounds would swell, then recede, much like the tide, but without the same urgency. It was a patient storytelling, a deliberate unfolding of narratives that had perhaps been accumulating for centuries. Oren felt an overwhelming sense of privilege. He was not just a boy, sitting by a lake. He was a listener, privy to the ancient secrets of the natural world. He opened his eyes again, and the moonlight seemed to dance with a renewed vibrancy. as if mirroring the life and stories being whispered around him. The reflections on the water's surface appeared to shimmer with an added layer of meaning, no longer just light and shadow, but echoes of the unseen dramas unfolding in the forest. He saw, in his mind's eye, the delicate dance of dragonflies over the water, the silent glide of a fish beneath the surface, the hesitant emergence of a deer from the tree line to quench its thirst. The whispers were not words in any language he knew, but they conveyed a profound understanding. They spoke of the interconnectedness of all things, the silent pact between the moon and the water, the trees and the creatures that inhabited them. They spoke of the passage of time, not in ticking seconds or ringing hours, but in the slow, inexorable cycles of nature, the turning of seasons, the birth and death of leaves, the rise and fall of generations of forest dwellers. Oren imagined that each ripple on the lake's surface was a story being told, each shimmering fragment of moonlight a word in the lake's vast, silent vocabulary. The lake was a chronicler, a keeper of memories, and the gentle breeze was its voice, carrying its tales to anyone willing to pause and listen. He felt a strange sense of belonging, as if the lake had recognized him, had chosen him to be a recipient of its wisdom. He started to differentiate specific sounds more clearly. There was a gentle scritch-scratch that he attributed to a busy beetle navigating a fallen log. A soft plop, perhaps a frog launching itself into the water, its brief moment of terrestrial exploration giving way to the aquatic world. He even imagined a soft, contented sigh, the deep breath of an ancient, slumbering tree. The more he listened, the more he realized the sheer diversity of the sounds, each one a tiny fragment of a grand, overarching narrative. The whispers also seemed to carry a sense of peace, despite the descriptions of scurrying creatures and hunting owls. There was no fear or violence in the sounds. It was the calm acceptance of nature's ways, the unhurried rhythm of existence. Oren found that as he absorbed these whispers, his own restless thoughts began to quieten. The anxieties and worries that sometimes cluttered his mind seemed to dissipate, replaced by a serene curiosity. He wondered if others had ever heard these whispers. Had generations of people who had lived by this lake, who had fished its waters or walked its shores, been privy to these same secrets? He imagined ancient peoples, their faces illuminated by firelight, listening intently to the lake's murmurs, drawing wisdom and comfort from its timeless stories. The lake, he realized, was a constant, a stable presence in a world that was always changing, always whispering its enduring truths. The moon continued its silent journey across the sky, its silvery path on the lake shifting and reforming with the slightest breeze. And with each shift, the whispers seemed to gain new nuances, new layers of meaning. It was as if the light itself was stimulating the lake's voice, awakening deeper stories and more profound insights. Oren realized that this was not a static performance. It was a dynamic conversation between the celestial and the terrestrial, a constant exchange of energy and information. He thought about the forest itself. What untold dramas were unfolding within its depths? The quiet struggle for survival, the silent blooming of rare flowers, the secret nesting places of birds, the underground networks of fungi connecting ancient trees. The whispers seemed to hint at all of this, painting a picture of a vibrant, complex world hidden just beyond the reach of his sight. The lake, situated at the heart of this ecosystem, acted as a central hub, gathering and relaying the myriad experiences of the surrounding landscape. Oren felt a profound urge to understand more, to decipher the language of the lake. He knew, instinctively, that it was not a language of words, but of feeling, of essence. He focused on the emotions that the whispers evoked, a sense of gentle persistence, a quiet joy in simply existing, a deep respect for the cycles of life and death. These were universal truths, woven into the fabric of the natural world, and the lake was sharing them with him. He stayed by the water's edge for a long time, completely absorbed in the symphony of whispers. The moon climbed higher, its light growing stronger, casting sharper shadows and illuminating the landscape with an even more profound clarity. The whispers continued, a constant, soothing presence that filled the silence and enriched the night. Oren felt a deep sense of gratitude for this gift, for the opportunity to connect with the ancient, living spirit of the Whispering Lake. He knew, with a certainty that settled deep within his bones, that this encounter had changed him in some subtle, yet significant, way. The secrets on the gentle breeze were no longer just sounds. They were lessons, whispered from the heart of the wild. As the night deepened, Oren began to notice a subtle shift in the whispers. They seemed to become more personal, as if the lake were now addressing him directly. The rustling sounds took on a more intimate quality, like a gentle hand brushing against his sleeve. The soft murmurs seemed to echo his own quiet thoughts, validating his presence and his attentiveness. It was as if the lake, having shared its general stories of the forest, was now ready to impart something more specific, something that resonated with his own journey. He imagined the lake recalling moments of its own past. Perhaps it remembered the saplings that had once grown where great trees now stood, or the ancient stones that lay submerged beneath its surface, remnants of a time long before humans had even walked these lands. The whispers seemed to carry the weight of ages, the echoes of countless dawns and dusks, of storms weathered and seasons past. It was a history lesson unlike any he had ever received, a history written not in books, but in the very essence of the water and the wind. A particular sequence of sounds caught his attention, a rhythmic, almost heartbeat-like pulse, followed by a gentle sigh, and then a series of soft clicks. Oren focused intently, trying to decipher the imagery. The pulse, he thought, might be the slow, steady rhythm of the earth itself, a deep, resonant vibration that underlay all life. The sigh could be the release of tension, the quiet satisfaction of nature's ongoing processes. And the clicks, perhaps they were the sounds of pebbles settling, or the subtle movements of underwater creatures. He realized that the lake was not just telling him about the forest, it was telling him about life. It was communicating the inherent resilience of nature, its ability to adapt, to endure, to find beauty even in the face of adversity. He heard whispers that spoke of seeds, patiently waiting for the right conditions to sprout, of creatures finding shelter during harsh winters, of the quiet strength that lay dormant within every living thing. The moonlight seemed to intensify these feelings. The silvery path across the water became a conduit for this understanding, a shimmering bridge between Oren and the lake's consciousness. He felt a profound connection to the water, an awareness of its ancient wisdom and its gentle, persistent spirit. It was a connection that transcended words and logic, a connection felt deep within his soul. He noticed a recurring theme in the whispers, a sense of continuity. The sounds spoke of life flowing into life, of energy transforming, of the endless cycle of renewal. A fallen leaf would nourish the soil, which in turn would feed new growth. A creature would pass, its essence returning to the earth, to be reborn in another form. The lake seemed to be telling him that nothing was truly lost, that everything was part of a grand, interconnected dance. Oren began to feel a sense of calm resolve settle within him. The whispers, with their tales of natural resilience and continuity, offered a perspective that made his own worries seem small and transient. He understood, perhaps for the first time, that he too was a part of this grand cycle, a single note in the vast symphony of existence. This realization was not humbling in a negative way, but rather empowering, connecting him to something far larger and more enduring than himself. He continued to listen, his mind open and receptive. The whispers ebbed and flowed, each subtle shift in sound bringing forth new images, new feelings. He imagined the roots of the ancient trees reaching down, 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 intertwining with the very bedrock, drawing sustenance from the earth's deep reserves. He heard the quiet work of decomposition, the slow, necessary process of breaking down the old to make way for the new. There was a profound beauty in these whispers, a beauty that lay not just in the sounds themselves, but in the profound truths they conveyed. They spoke of balance, of harmony, of the delicate equilibrium that sustained the natural world. Oren felt a growing desire to protect this delicate balance, to be a guardian of the secrets the lake was so generously sharing. The moon was now high overhead, its light a steady, unwavering beacon. The lake, illuminated by its celestial lamp, seemed to pulse with a gentle energy, its whispers a constant hum of life. Oren knew that he could not stay by the water's edge forever, but he also knew that he would carry these whispers with him. They were etched into his memory, a reminder of the profound interconnectedness of all things and the enduring power of the natural world. The gentle breeze, once just a carrier of scents and sensations, had become a messenger of ancient wisdom, and Oren, the lone listener, had been gifted with its most precious secrets. He understood that the whispering lake was not just a body of water. It was a living, breathing entity, a narrator of the wild and a sanctuary for the soul. The last vestiges of twilight melted into the inky canvas of true night. A hush fell over the landscape, a silence so profound that it felt like the world was holding its breath. Oren, who had been lost in the symphony of the whispering lake, found his attention drawn to a new phenomenon, one that shimmered and pulsed with a magic all its own. It began subtly, a mere scattering of faint pinpricks against the deepening darkness. Then, as if a celestial artist had begun to sprinkle stardust, more and more lights appeared. Tiny incandescent embers began to wink into existence, not in the sky but in the very air around him, dancing and weaving a breathtaking spectacle. These were the fireflies, and their arrival transformed the familiar shoreline into a realm of ethereal wonder. Their bioluminescent glow, a cool, soft green yellow, pulsed with a gentle, rhythmic cadence. Each tiny spark flared briefly, illuminating a small section of the surrounding night, only to recede back into darkness, making way for another to ignite. It was a silent conversation of light, a language spoken in flashes and fades. Oren watched, mesmerized, as the fireflies formed moving constellations, ephemeral patterns that shifted and reformed with every subtle movement of the air. They drifted above the still surface of the lake, their lights reflected in miniature, creating a doubled galaxy of blinking stars. They hovered near the water's edge, their tiny lanterns casting fleeting halos on the dew-kissed grass. They ascended into the branches of the ancient trees, their light a soft glow filtering through the leaves, like tiny, fallen stars caught in an arboreal embrace. The effect was utterly enchanting. The rhythmic flashing seemed to sync with the quiet beat of Oren's own heart, lulling him into a state of profound peace. The initial sense of mystery that the lake had stirred in him now gave way to a feeling of serene wonder. The fireflies were not just insects. They were tiny emissaries of joy, their silent dance a testament to the quiet beauty that thrived in the darkness. Their light was not harsh or revealing, but soft and inviting, a gentle invitation to observe, to contemplate, and to simply be. They seemed to beckon him, not with a call, but with a silent, luminous gesture, drawing him deeper into the tranquil ambiance of the night. Oren found himself leaning forward, his gaze following the intricate ballet of lights. Each flash was like a tiny exclamation point in the grand narrative of the night, a punctuation mark in the silence. He wondered about their purpose, these tiny creatures carrying their own internal lanterns. Were they communicating with each other? Were they navigating by their own internal compasses? Or were they simply being? He leaned towards the latter, finding solace in the idea of such pure, unadulterated existence. The fireflies asked for nothing, demanded nothing, yet they offered a spectacle of unparalleled beauty. He noticed how the patterns of their flight changed. Sometimes they would gather in small, swirling clusters, as if sharing a secret or engaged in a playful chase. At other times they would spread out, creating a vast, shimmering tapestry across the meadow and along the lake's edge. Their lights seemed to paint the darkness, creating fleeting landscapes of illuminated dewdrops, the silken threads of spiderwebs catching the light like delicate, invisible jewelry, and the velvety texture of moss on ancient stones. The world, which had seemed so vast and unknowable just moments before, now felt intimate and alive, illuminated by these myriad tiny sparks. The air, which had been carrying the whispers of the lake, now seemed to hum with a new, silent energy. The fireflies' lights pulsed in a way that felt almost organic, a living, breathing phenomenon. Oren imagined that their light was a form of communication, a silent language that the wind carried and that the darkness amplified. Perhaps, he mused, they were sending messages to the moon, or to the stars, or even to the ancient spirit of the lake itself. Their synchronized flashing, though not perfectly uniform, suggested a collective consciousness, a shared purpose that transcended individual existence. He tried to count them, but it was an impossible task. As soon as his mind focused on a cluster, it would disperse, only for new ones to appear elsewhere. It was like trying to count the stars in a clear night sky, a futile endeavor that only served to remind one of the boundless nature of the universe. He let go of the urge to quantify, surrendering instead to the sheer sensory experience. The visual spectacle was almost hypnotic, and he felt a profound sense of calm settle over him, a quiet joy that had been absent from his life for too long. The fireflies' dance was not a chaotic display. It possessed an inherent order, a natural rhythm that soothed his restless spirit. He noticed how the intensity of their light varied, some pulsing with a fierce brilliance, others glowing with a softer, more diffused radiance. This variation, he imagined, was like different voices in a choir, each contributing to the overall harmony of the illumination. Some were bold and assertive, others shy and retiring, but all were essential to the breathtaking symphony of light. He began to feel a connection to these tiny beings. They were so small, so ephemeral, yet they possessed an inner light that was powerful enough to transform the night. They were a reminder that even the smallest among us can bring beauty and wonder into the world. Their bioluminescence, a natural marvel, was a gift to behold, a fleeting moment of magic that enriched the very fabric of existence. Oren found himself breathing more deeply, his shoulders relaxing, the tension he often carried with him dissipating with each gentle flash of light. The fireflies seemed to be everywhere. They hovered just above the lake's surface, their reflections creating a shimmering, watery counterpart to their aerial ballet. They flitted through the tall grasses, their lights appearing as tiny, bobbing lanterns. They even ventured into the denser woods, their intermittent gleams creating ephemeral pathways through the shadows. Each new appearance was a small spark of delight, a confirmation that the magic of the night was all around him. He wondered if there was a specific reason for this abundance of fireflies tonight. Was it a special occasion in their tiny lives? Or was it simply a particularly favorable night, with the perfect balance of moisture and warmth? He didn't need an answer. The mere presence of their light was enough. They were a manifestation of the wild's inherent vitality, a silent celebration of life in its most luminous form. As the hours of night deepened, the fireflies' display seemed to grow even more vibrant. It was as if the darkness itself acted as a canvas, allowing their bioluminescence to shine with even greater intensity. The lake, previously a mirror of the moon, now also reflected the pulsating glow of the fireflies, creating a mesmerizing double spectacle of celestial and terrestrial light. Oren felt as though he was suspended between two worlds, a realm of silent whispers from the water and a realm of silent conversations in light. He noticed how certain areas seemed to attract more fireflies than others. Perhaps it was the presence of certain plants, or a particular humidity in the air. He saw them congregating near patches of wildflowers, their tiny lights interspersed with the subtle hues of the blossoms. He observed them near the damp earth at the water's edge, their lights flickering like tiny embers igniting on the mossy banks. It was a living, breathing ecosystem of light and life, and Oren was a privileged observer. The rhythmic flashing had a profound effect on his state of mind. It was not an intrusive rhythm, but a gentle, almost imperceptible pulse that seemed to resonate with the natural world. It was the rhythm of the earth breathing, the slow exhalation of the night, the quiet unfolding of life. He felt his own anxieties and worries begin to fade, replaced by a sense of deep contentment. The firefly's dance was a balm to his soul, a reminder of the simple, uncomplicated beauty that exists in the world. He imagined that each firefly was carrying a tiny fragment of starlight, a piece of the celestial realm brought down to earth to illuminate the darkness. Their light was not born of fire, but of a biological wonder, a testament to the ingenious ways in which life finds to express itself. They were, in a sense, living jewels, adorning the night with their fleeting brilliance. Oren felt a growing sense of gratitude for this spectacle. It was a gift, freely given, a moment of pure, unadulterated magic. He knew that these moments were precious, fleeting, and that they would not last forever. The fireflies would eventually retreat with the dawn, their light fading as the sun's power grew. But the memory of their dance, the feeling of peace and wonder they had evoked, would remain. He watched as a particularly large cluster of fireflies rose from the reeds at the water's edge, their lights ascending together like a shimmering veil. They drifted towards the center of the lake, their reflections creating a wavering, incandescent path on the dark water. It was a breathtaking sight, a testament to the silent power and beauty of nature. He realized that the fireflies, in their own way, were also whispering. Their language was not of sound, but of light. Each flash was a word, each pattern a sentence, each synchronized display a story told in luminous ink. They were sharing their existence, their simple joy, their vibrant life with the world around them. And Oren, by simply being present and open, was able to understand their message. He continued to sit by the whispering lake, the gentle murmurs of the water blending with the silent, luminous dance of the fireflies. It was a symphony of the senses, a harmonious convergence of sound and light. The lake whispered its ancient tales, and the fireflies illuminated the present with their fleeting brilliance. Oren felt a profound sense of belonging, a deep connection to this place and to the life that pulsed within it. The night was no longer just dark, it was alive with whispers and with light, and he was a part of it all. He closed his eyes for a moment, allowing the combined sensations to wash over him, feeling the gentle breeze, hearing the soft whispers, and seeing, even with his eyes closed, the phantom glow of 1,000 tiny lanterns. When he opened them again, the fireflies continued their ethereal performance, a silent testament to the enduring magic of the natural world, their dance of light a captivating counterpoint to the lake's gentle song. He felt a deep sense of contentment, a quiet understanding that he was in a place where the extraordinary was simply the ordinary, a place where magic was woven into the very fabric of existence. The fireflies, with their incandescent ballet, were a perfect illustration of this untamed enchantment, their brief, brilliant lives a powerful reminder of the beauty that can be found when one simply stops to observe. Their light was a gentle invitation, a silent beckoning towards a deeper appreciation of the world's hidden wonders, and Oren, bathed in their soft glow, felt his heart swell with a quiet, unshakable joy. The world around Oren began to soften, the sharp edges of the night blurring into a comforting haze. The symphony of the whispering lake, which had once seemed so full of subtle messages and hidden secrets, now shifted its tone. The whispers, which had previously carried a sense of gentle inquiry, began to weave a more soporific spell. They didn't disappear, not entirely, but their clarity faded, becoming a hushed murmur, a background hum that seemed to emanate from the very soul of the water. It was as if the lake, having shared its initial curiosities, was now preparing to usher its guest into a state of profound rest. Each soft lapping sound against the shore, each sigh of the breeze through the reeds contributed to a growing sense of peaceful surrender. Accompanying this melodic descent into tranquility was the light show of the fireflies. Their dance, which had been an exhilarating spectacle of swirling patterns and sudden flares, began to slow. The rapid pulses of their bioluminescence transformed into a more languid, deliberate blink. It was as if each tiny creature was also feeling the pull of the deepening night, their internal lanterns dimming and brightening with a sleepy, syrupy rhythm. The frenetic energy of their earlier display softened into a gentle, rhythmic cadence, reminiscent of slow, sleepy eyelids blinking open and closed. The once vibrant constellations of light now seemed to form more static, diffused clouds, their individual sparks less urgent, more content to simply glow. The air, thick with the sweet perfume of wildflowers that had been subtly mingling with the damp earth scent of the lake, seemed to embrace Oren, wrapping him in a comforting, fragrant blanket. He found himself breathing it in, the scent of blossoms and water working in tandem with the lake's murmurs and the fireflies' lights to create an atmosphere of absolute peace. Oren was nestled by the water's edge, the cool, damp earth a grounding sensation beneath him. The day's accumulated energy, the lingering traces of his journey, and the initial sense of bewilderment he'd felt upon arriving at the lake began to drain away. It wasn't an abrupt depletion, but a gentle ebb, like a tide receding on a calm shore. In its place, a profound sense of calm seeped in, filling the spaces left by his worries and his weariness. He felt a deep, unwavering peace settle over him, a stillness that permeated his very being. It was a peace that felt ancient, as if it had been waiting for him by this very spot, a gift offered by the slumbering natural world. He felt himself succumbing, not to any external force, but to the irresistible invitation of the night. The lake's lullaby was a potent melody, and the fireflies' gentle blinking were the soft, reassuring nods of confirmation. It was a surrender that felt entirely natural, a yielding to a process that was both primal and deeply comforting. He was no longer an observer, standing apart from the magic. He was becoming a part of it, his own internal rhythm beginning to sync with the slow pulse of the lake and the sleepy cadence of the fireflies. His eyelids felt heavy, each blink a more conscious effort than the last. The world, previously so vibrant with light and sound, now seemed to recede, drawing him deeper into a soft, warm embrace. He imagined the lake's whispers as a gentle, soporific spell, not one of enchantment to trap him, but one to release him. They were woven with the scent of the wild roses and the damp earth, with the coolness of the night air, and with the soft, intermittent gleam of the fireflies, This potent concoction of sensory experiences was a lullaby of the wild, a tender song sung by the earth to its tired child. Each whisper was a promise of rest, each fading echo a reassurance that he was safe, that he was welcome, and that he could finally let go. The fireflies, with their drowsy blinking, seemed to echo this sentiment. Their lights, once so bright and energetic, now pulsed with a soft, sleepy rhythm. They were like tiny, organic nightlights, their gentle glow a constant, reassuring presence in the deepening darkness. They weren't trying to wake him, but rather to guide him gently into the realm of dreams. Their dance had transformed from a spirited waltz into a slow, languid sway, a testament to the power of the night and its capacity for deep, restorative rest. Oren found himself watching their lights, not with the intense focus of before, but with a soft, unfocused gaze, allowing their gentle rhythm to lull him. He felt the day's energy, the physical and mental fatigue that had been a constant companion, begin to recede. It was a gradual release, a letting go of tension he hadn't even realized he was holding. His shoulders relaxed, the knots of stress that had tightened throughout the day seemed to unravel, and a profound sense of ease spread through his limbs. He was no longer striving, no longer questioning, no longer carrying the weight of his own thoughts. He was simply present, enveloped by the serene magic of the whispering lake and its luminous companion. The wildflower-scented air played a crucial role in this transition. It was a sweet, delicate fragrance that spoke of untamed beauty and natural abundance. It was a scent that grounded him to the earth, reminding him of the living, breathing world around him, even as he drifted towards the ethereal realm of sleep. It was a scent that was both invigorating and calming, a perfect balance that mirrored the overall atmosphere. It was the breath of the wild, a gentle exhalation that soothed his senses and invited him to dream. He felt himself sinking, not into a void, but into a soft, yielding mattress of peace. It was as if the very ground beneath him had become more pliant, more welcoming, cradling him as he began to drift. The boundaries between himself and the natural world seemed to blur, his own breathing slowing to match the gentle rhythm of the lake. He was becoming one with the night, a part of its quiet, profound embrace. The whispers of the lake were no longer distinct sounds, but a single, resonant hum that vibrated through him, a deep, resonant chord that promised an end to all striving. The firefly's slow, steady blinking was like the gentle closing of his own eyes. Each flash was a confirmation, a silent acknowledgement that it was time to rest, to recharge, to let the magic of the night work its restorative wonders. He found himself counting them sometimes, not with the desire for accuracy, but as a way to anchor his drifting consciousness. 1, 2, 3, and then he would lose count, his mind slipping further into the soft embrace of sleep. But the presence of the lights, their gentle, intermittent glow, was a constant, reassuring presence. He was nestled, not just by the water, but within a sanctuary of peace. The lake had offered its mysteries, the fireflies their luminous ballet, and now the night itself was offering the ultimate gift, profound, dream-filled sleep. He felt a gentle, almost imperceptible pull, drawing him deeper and deeper into this state of blissful surrender. It was a sleep that promised not oblivion, but rejuvenation, a journey into a world where the whispers of the lake and the silent language of the fireflies would continue to guide him. He imagined that the lake's whispers were not just sounds, but currents of sleep, gently carrying him away from the shores of wakefulness. They were currents of peace, of calm, of deep, restorative slumber. And the fireflies, with their slow, rhythmic blinking, were like guiding stars, their soft lights marking the path towards a tranquil, dream-filled landscape. He was a traveler, being gently guided to his destination, a destination of profound rest and renewal. The scent of the wildflowers seemed to deepen as he drifted, becoming more potent, more intoxicating. It was a scent that spoke of fertility, of life, of the deep hidden processes of nature. It was a scent that grounded him, even as he floated away on the currents of sleep. It was a reminder of the vibrant life that pulsed around him, a life that was now, in this moment, contributing to his own profound sense of peace. He felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over him. Gratitude for the lake, for its whispers, for its beauty. Gratitude for the fireflies, for their luminous dance, for their gentle presence. Gratitude for the night, for its quiet embrace, for its promise of rest. It was a gratitude that was silent, profound, and deeply felt. It was a feeling that was intertwined with the very essence of the place, a recognition of the magic that resided here, a magic that was now embracing him. As he continued to sink, the whispers of the lake became less distinct, merging into a single, resonant tone. The fireflies' lights blurred into soft, glowing orbs, their rhythmic blinking becoming a slow, mesmerizing pulse. He was no longer aware of the cool earth beneath him or the soft breeze on his skin. He was aware only of the overwhelming sense of peace, of calm, of profound, dream-filled sleep. The whispering lake had sung its lullaby, and Oren, finally, was succumbing to its sweet, soporific spell. The day's journey was over, and the night had offered its gentle, luminous embrace, drawing him into a peaceful slumber that was as magical and as profound as the lake itself. And now, as the moonlight fades and the whispers of the lake settle into a lullaby, let yourself drift fully into sleep. Carry this peace with you, like a soft, warm blanket around your heart. The night watches over you, the stars keep their quiet vigil, and the gentle glow of the fireflies lingers in your dreams. Rest now, breathe and drift into the comfort of the world's tender embrace.